Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We're not here for easy answers or comfort. We're plunging into a philosophical work that, well, it promises transformation, but it might break you down first to rebuild you. We're talking about Thus Spoke Zarathustra, drawing from the analysis in this philosophy will break you, then rebuild you stronger. So our goal today, to unpack this really dense, challenging material, get to the core insights. And like we said, this isn't your typical self-help guy. Nietzsche apparently called it a fire meant to burn away the false stuff, the borrowed ideas. It's apparently for the rarest of the rare, those who dare to face their own, inner abyss.
Yeah, and what's really striking about Zarathustra, as source highlights, is the style. Zarathustra, the main figure, he speaks in parables, riddles. It sounds almost like scripture, not like a philosophy book. And that's intentional. Nietzsche wanted these ideas to be more than just understood. They needed to be felt, wrestled with, lived through. It demands your whole self, really. And yeah, that often means embracing difficulty, even suffering, as part of the process.
Okay, so to navigate this, we're focusing on three big ideas that keep coming back, right? Self-overcoming, the death of God, and eternal recurrence. But these aren't neat answers. They're presented more as challenges designed to shake things up, make you ask, okay, who am I really?
Yeah.
Especially when the old answers aren't there anymore.
Yeah, it's intense. So it kicks off with Zarathustra coming down from the mountains after 10 years alone, 10 years of solitude. And this descent, it's symbolic, obviously, coming back into the, messiness side. But he's not bringing stone tablets or rules. His aim is something else, planting a dangerous idea.
Exactly. That decade wasn't just chilling out. It was preparation, freeing himself from everything borrowed, morals, religion, habits, the way people thought. He comes back with this vision, but he uses metaphors, riddles, because these truths aren't easy pills to swallow. They're meant to disrupt, to kind of shake people awake, make them rethink their values. And right near the start, we get that bombshell declaration, God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. Now, this gets misunderstood all the time. It's not just him saying he's an atheist, is it? What's the deeper thing he's pointing to?
He's pointing to what he saw as the collapse of the entire moral and metaphysical foundation of the West. For Nietzsche, God was shorthand for that belief in a fixed universal truth, something outside us that tells us how to live, what's valuable, and he saw science, modernity, rationalism slowly chipping away at that foundation. So now we're kind of adrift, no guaranteed purpose, no cosmic script. And the big danger he saw, nihilism, that feeling that nothing matters, scary place.
Right. So if that void, that lack of meaning is the problem, then the last man is his picture of where that leads. Tell us about this figure.
Yeah, in Prologue 5, Zarathustra paints this picture of the last, the embodiment of modern mediocrity. Not evil, maybe worse, just comfortable, shallow, unimaginative. The last man values safety over everything, avoids pain, avoids challenge, avoids risk. They seek little pleasures, tiny comforts, just to avoid discomfort. They literally say, we have invented happiness. It's the sort of blinking surface-level existence. That's what Nietzsche feared most, this kind of spiritual laziness, a refusal to strive, to become anything more.
So the last man is the bleak outcome. But Nietzsche doesn't just leave it there. Zarathustra offers this alternative vision, the Übermensch, the overman. This isn't like a comic book hero, though, right?
No. The Übermensch is, it's a higher type of human, someone who doesn't just inherit value. They create their own values. Their purpose comes from within, not from outside. There's that powerful metaphor in Prologue 4. Man is a rope stretched between the animal and the Übermensch, a rope over an abyss.
So humanity isn't the end point. We're a transition, a bridge, and crossing it. That's inherently dangerous. It requires balance, courage, the risk of falling. The abyss below is that nihilism we talked about. The animal on one side is just base instinct. The Übermensch is a potential for something more, something stronger, freer, more creative. But like the source says, most people won't even try to cross that rope.
And when Zarathustra first tries to share this vision with the crowd in the marketplace, they just laugh at him. They misunderstand, they mock him, they're not ready for it. That rejection seems pretty important. Oh, absolutely. It shows that transformative truth, the really challenging stuff, is rarely popular. The crowd usually prefers comfort over confrontation. So Zarathustra realizes, okay, the masses aren't going to get this. He needs to find individual companions willing to actually walk off. It means his path forward is going to be lonelier, but maybe more focused.
Okay, so after that rejection, Zarathustra kind of shifts gears. He starts looking for those individuals, the ones who might be capable of this transformation. And this leads into maybe one of the most famous parts, the three metamorphoses of the spirit. Can you unpack that for us?
Right. This is like a map for spiritual growth. Stage 1 is the camp, the spirit that says yes to duty, to responsibility. It kneels down and takes on heavy load. Think of accepting all the inherited values from society, religion, family without question, carrying these burdens. There's a certain strength in it, but the danger is doing it uncritically. Fusing obedience with actual virtue. It's a necessary start, though. You have to feel the weight first. How many of us carry these loads without really why?
Makes sense. You carry it, feel its weight, And then what's next?
Next comes the lion, the spirit that learns to say no. It's the rebel. It fights back against those imposed values, the thou shalts that the camel carried. It wants freedom. It roars, I will. It's powerful, destructive even. It clears the way. But the lion, for all its strength, can't yet create new values. It only knows how to destroy these.
So destruction is necessary but not sufficient. What's the final stage?
The final stage is the child. Now, this isn't about becoming childish or naive. It's described as a return to innocence, but not ignorance. The child represents creation, play, a fresh start. It's not burdened by the past like the camel or just reacting against it like the lion. It creates new values playfully, affirms life with this kind of sacred yes. It lives from its own inner truth. It's about rediscovering the world with wisdom, not just naivety.
Yeah, it's a powerful image. And Nietzsche then critiques things that block this transformation. Like on the afterworldly, he goes after religions that focus on escaping this life for some other world.
Yeah, he sees that as a kind of spiritual sick, despising this life, this world, in favor of some promised afterlife. He thinks it drains the will to live fully, creatively, courageously now. It devalues our actual existence. It's a direct challenge to any belief system that puts the ultimate meaning somewhere else.
And that ties into On the Despisers of the Body, right, where he pushes back against separating mind and body.
Exactly. He famously says something like, behind your thoughts and feelings, there stands a mighty ruler, the body. He argues the body isn't a prison for the soul, it is us. Yeah. Our instincts, drives, emotions, they aren't flaws to be suppressed, they're sources of wisdom, power, vitality. To hate the body is to hate yourself. It demands we take full responsibility for our whole body and mind.
So this whole journey, camel to lion to child, rejecting escape, embracing the body, it seems to point toward this ideal figure he calls the creator in, on the way of the creator.
Yes, the creator is the ultimate goal here. Someone who doesn't just accept values, destroy them, but actually creates new values. They don't wait for permission. They don't look for followers necessarily. They bring meaning into the world through their own life, their own act. But Nietzsche is clear. This path is incredibly lonely. It takes immense courage to stand apart and forge your own way, maybe completely an act.
Okay, so this path of the creator sounds heroic, but Nietzsche doesn't shy away from the next part really gets into the internal struggle, doesn't it? Feels like we're seeing Zarathustra grapple with the loneliness, the frustration, the sheer psychological weight of trying to live.
Absolutely. He starts by looking at the established wise men, the philosophers, the scholars, the religious figures of his time, and he really takes them down, sees them clinging to old systems, often out of fear disguised as virtue. He thinks they encourage dependency, not real thinking. Their wisdom feels hollow to him, disconnected from reality. It's quite a biting critique of intellect without courage.
And living outside those comfortable systems brings its own pain. On the Night Song sounds particularly bleak. He talks about deep isolation.
It's incredibly poignant. He basically says, when you have a truly unique vision, you're often met with silence, not applause. I am a forest in a night of dark tree. It's that feeling of being fundamentally misunderstood, or maybe just alone with your insights, like the moon singing to an unresponsive world. It's a very real existential lump.
But then right after that, there's On the Dancing Song, which feels like a complete shift in energy. Isolation doesn't lead to paralysis for him.
No, and that's crucial. The isolation, the difficulty, it leads him to movement, to dancing. Dancing here is a metaphor for vitality, lightness, refusing to be crushed by heaviness or bitterness. He says something like the dancer's soul is in their limb. Joy comes from within. It doesn't need external validation. It's this powerful yes to life, finding your own rhythm even.
That internal strength is key. And then we get to On the Tarantulas. This seems like a really challenging section where he talks about resentment disguised as morality.
Yes, this is one of Nietzsche's most pointed critique. He attacks what he calls the morality of resentment. He sees certain people, the tarantulas, pushing for equality, not out of justice, but out of bitterness and hatred towards those they perceive as stronger or higher. They preach equality as a way to bring everyone down to their level, driven by envy and a desire for revenge.
He said, the bite of conscience teaches man to bite. What's that getting at?
It means that feelings of inadequacy or weakness can fester and turn into projected hatred, which then gets dressed up as moral superiority. It's a really difficult idea because it forces you to look hard at your own motivation. Are your calls for justice genuine, or are they masking some kind of resentment? It's deeply uncomfortable self-exam.
Wow. Okay, and that relates to power, which brings us to On Self-Overcoming and the will to power. This term is so loaded. What does Zarathustra mean by it here?
It really is loaded and often wildly misunderstood. Zarathustra asks, what is good? And answers, All that heightens the feeling of power. But crucially, and this is key, he's not talking about dominating other people. The will to power here is primarily about mastering oneself. It's that inner drive to grow, to overcome your own limitations, your weaknesses, your fears. It's the engine behind all creativity, all striving, all becoming stronger. Self-overcoming is this constant process. You have to metaphorically burn in your own fire, constantly challenging and reshaping yourself. It's internal, not external power.
So it's about inner mastery. And this connects to his idea of redemption and on redemption, which sounds completely different from the usual religious sense.
Totally different. He throws out guilt. Guilt just chains you to the past, makes you weak. His idea of redemption is the ability to look back at your entire life, the good and the bad, the successes and the terrible mistakes, everything, and affirm it all, to say, yes, I lived that and I would live it again exactly as it was. He has that incredible line, to redeem the past and to transform every it was into thus I willed it. It's about taking absolute ownership, even the suffering, embracing your fate. That for him is real strength. Amor fati, love.
Loving your, that definitely clashed. What about on human prudence? Do you have anything good to say about caution?
Not much. He basically mocks excessive caution as clever cowardice, being too prudent, too careful, always calculating the risk. He sees that as a kind of living death. Real life, for Zarathustra, requires risk. It requires throwing yourself into things, trusting your instincts sometimes, not just your calculation. You have to be willing to leap.
Okay, so all this struggle, the loneliness, the self-overcoming, affirming the past, rejecting timid prudence that builds to this critical moment in the stillest hour. What happens there?
This is Zarathustra confronting himself, really. He's alone in silence, and he hears this inner voice, his own deeper, and this voice accuses him of holding back, of knowing more than he's saying, of not fully living his own message yet. It's not an enemy outside. It's his own fear, his own final He realizes he has a way, let go of needing followers, needing approval, truly walk alone. It's called a spirit, total clarity, no shadows, no turning back. It's the point of full control.
And tying that back to the will to power, this sounds like the ultimate test.
It really is. Can you break free even from those who admire you? Can you let go of the need to be liked, can you follow your path completely alone, guided only by that inner fire, that's the peak of self-mastery. Real transformation demands that radical.
So having reached this spiritual noon, Zarathustra then encounters these figures called the higher men. Who are they exactly? They sound promising, but also maybe not quite there yet.
That's exactly it. They're individuals who are definitely more developed than the average person, the last man. They've striven, they've suffered, they understand some of what Zarathustra is talking about, but they've gotten stuck. Trapped by maybe spiritual pride or intellectual vanity, or they're clinging to some comforting ideology even while trying to be free. They're often tragic figures because they came close but couldn't make the final. Their suffering alone wasn't enough to transform them fully.
Can you give an example?
Well, there are figures like kings who are weary of ruling but haven't found a new purpose. There's a magician, often seen as a critique of Wagner, the composer, who puts on a big show of profound suffering, but it feels performed, lacking real depth. They represent the danger of getting stuck partway up the mountain. They become spectators of life, maybe even their own suffering, instead of acting.
And this leads into one of the weirdest chapters, right? The Ass Festival. What on earth is going on there?
Because it's bizarre. These higher men, in a moment of misguided reverence, end up basically they hold this ceremony, bowing down to it. It's satire.
Yeah.
Nietzsche is ruthlessly mocking the human tendency to need something to worship, follow, even after the old god. They just find a new idol, in this case, the donkey, representing perhaps stubbornness, simplicity, maybe even a kind of dumb obedience or herd thinking. He's showing how easily we fall back into old patterns, even when we think we're enlightened. It's a challenge, look closely. Do you do that?
That's brutal. And it circles back to that point you made earlier. Suffering alone isn't enough.
Exactly. Their suffering hasn't made them free. It's made them perhaps bitter or proud, or just led them comforts, new things to worship. True transformation, for Nietzsche, only happens when it becomes fuel, raw material for creating something stronger, wiser, more alive. It has to be actively transformed, not just endured or dismissed.
Okay, so after critiquing even these higher men, the book moves toward its climax, the drunken song and the sign. This sounds like a shift towards affirmation.
Yeah, it's a profound shift. The drinking song isn't about being literally drunk. It's the song of someone who has stared into the abyss, seen the hardship, the absurdity, the repetition of life, and still chooses to say a passionate yes. There's that recurring line, all joy wants eternity, wants deep, deep eternity. What is that? It means real, profound joy doesn't want to end. It embraces everything, even the pain that led to it, so completely that it wishes for it all to happen again and again, forever. That's the emotional core of accepting eternal recurrence.
And the image of Zarathustra dancing. That comes back strongly here. He said earlier he'd only believe in a God who could dance.
Exactly. Dancing becomes the ultimate symbol of this affirmation. It's freedom, grace, lightness, moving with life, not against. It's the embodiment of amor fati, loving your fate. He's no longer weighed down by the need to teach or convince. His joy is self-sufficient. He is the mess breast in movement.
It reminds me of that disturbing image from earlier, the shepherd choking on a black snake, symbolizing the horror of eternal recurrence. How did Zarathustra tell him to overcome it?
His cry to the shepherd was simply, bite. It's visceral, shocking. It means you don't overcome the horror by running away or analyze. You overcome it by a courageous, decisive act of acceptance. Embrace it, bite into it, make it part of it. And when the shepherd bites, he's transformed, he laughs, he's free. It's about facing the worst and affirming it.
And finally, the sign. What happens there?
Zarathustra wakes, and his animals, the eagle and the serpent, symbols of pride and wisdom, bring him this final. It's described almost playfully. It signifies that the time of struggle, the heavy burdens, is over for now. He declares, my morning, my day begins. Arise now, arise, great noon. This great noon. It's that moment of peak clarity, culmination, pure presence. He's moved beyond needing to teach in the old way. His very being is the affirmation, his joys.
So wrapping this deep dive up, the core message seems to be that becoming who you truly are is messy. It's not linear. And the tough parts, the suffering, the solitude, the doubt, they aren't failure. They're necessary fire.
Precisely. Nietzsche offers challenge, not comfort. But the promise is that through that challenge, if faced fully, comes a kind of joy that's resilient, that dances, that wants eternity.
Yeah.
Ultimately, no matter how deep you go into these ideas, the point isn't to escape life. It's to return to it more fully, to say yes to it, to affirm it so completely you'd be willing to live it again.
So the final question he leaves us with really is personal. Will you say yes? Will you bite the snake when it chokes you? Will you find a way to dance, even at the edge of the abyss? That's the challenge. And well, only you can answer.